the one, the only, Ben Sion. Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Just Daf It. Today we're doing Maseches Nazir, Daf Nun Gimel, number 53. A great share for you today. Let's get started from the bottom of Nun Beis, Amud Beis, towards the bottom, about, where is it? About 7 or 8 lines up. Bayu Rami Rachama, in the middle of the line. Bayu Rami Rachama, Rova Atzamos Min Hashedra Gogolos Mai. We talked about a whole shedra. Do you need a shedra? The Mishnah says a shedra and a gogolis, the spinal cord and the skull. The Gemara wasn't sure both or one by themselves. What about? And the Mishnah also said a chatzi kav atzamos. If you have scattered bones throughout the body, if they weigh a half a kav, which is about half, about 0.75 of a quart or a liter, a volume measure. Interesting that it uses a volume measure, but that's the standard amount for any type of bones. What about shedra gogolas? Are more, severe bones, because basically life goes through the skull, the brain, and the spinal cord, right? Basically sends messages to the brain that helps you, control the body through the brain. So they're very important in terms of the life of a person, right? If someone suffers a spinal cord, right? That could be, either paralysis or death. And similarly, the brain, real death is in the brain. So, when the Mishnah said that's talking about other and we'll see that normally in the Torah, rova atzamos, a fourth of atzamos, is something that's metame. It's not significant enough. I explained in a previous Iyot Ben Sion, in order to make you start counting your Nazir again. It's metame. You maybe violate a lav of becoming tame. However, you do not megaleach. You don't have to shave your head and stop counting and start over again. What about shedra gogolis? Maybe Rava Tzamos is significant enough. Odim lo shna. I'm a Rava Tashma. Rava tries to bring a proof. Shedra gogolis. The Mishnah says shedra gogolis. You just have a Rava Tzamos. The Asman shedra gogolis. Chamir. If you say that even, right, a certain amount of volume of bones that comes from scattered shedra gogolis, not the whole shedra, not the whole gogolis, because that by itself has a possibility. It's a suffix in the Gemara where that by itself is metame. But you have scattered bones from the shedra or the gogolis. Maybe even a rova atzamo, a rova kav would be enough. Listening, if that was true, listening al rova atzamos pamina shedra. Say the bigger chiddush, right? Not just a whole shedra, but even rova atzamos that comes from the shedra. So the Gemara immediately asks, "Stop with nun gimel and al." Rava is the one who's trying to bring for a Mishnah. Who the amar lo nitzrach al the shedra gogolis shein ben rova atzamos. This the Gemara doesn't know. The Mepharshim don't know where Rava said this, but Rava said somewhere else that our Mishnah is talking about shedra gogolis. When it says shedra gogolis, it's talking about even less than a rova atzamos, less than a rova kav. So what are you trying to prove? Rova kav, right? The fact that it says shedra gogolis tells you that it's significant. They don't even need a whole shedra gogolis. You need just a couple of bones. Even doesn't have rova atzamos. That's good enough. So the Gemara answers, Bas D'Shamar Rabbi Akiva. Rava's question and his inference from the Mishnah was prior to what he heard from Rabbi Akiva. Once he heard from Rabbi Akiva, then he made the later statement, which he said, then he concluded, once Rabbi Akiva, we saw, is more machmir in terms of, right, combining different types of forms of tuma. So he said even less than a rova atzamos, an eighth of a kav atzamos, whatever it is, from the shedra gogolis is chamir. But that's Rabbi Akiva, and we were asking according to the Stam Mishnah, which is the Rabbanan. So Rava tried to bring up proof was before he actually heard this from Rabbi Akiva. So it's not a proof from Rava. Tashma, we're still trying to answer. Shammai Omer, we had a brayso yesterday. Shammai says, "Etzem echem min hashedra gogolis." Even one bone, one vertebrae from the shedra or the gogolis, or a small part of the skull, right? So you see, even definitely a rova kav. The Gemara says, "Shiny Shammai the machmir tvei." Shammai we said yesterday is more machmir. We're trying to ask according to the Rabbanan. Lif shomina. So the Gemara says, at least bring a proof from it. Time with the Shammai the machmir. He is machmir. Hel Rabbanan. Adi kachatzi kav atzamos. The Rabbanan need the full share. The Gemara says, "Dilma adkan lo pligi Rabbanan le the Shammai el be'etzem echad." The Gemara says, it's not a good inference. Maybe they only argue about one bone. Aval barova atzamos. If you have a fourth of kav atzamos, afilu Rabbanan moda, they would be agree that from the shedra gogolis is more severe than other bones. Amar Rabbi Elazar says, "Kenya Rishonim mixasan you omrim chatzi kav atzamos chatzi log dam lechol rova atzamo lakol. Rova atzamo is revius dam lo lakol. The Gemara really doesn't answer the question. The Gemara proceeds to discuss a general discussion of our Mishnah. The first Zakanim, the original Zakanim, when they started recording the Mishnayos and the Gemara, they said, Chatzi kavatzan chatzi log dam lechol. It's always metame. The shear that's needed for tuma is chatzi kav of bones and a chatzi log of dam. Rova atzam is revias dam lo lechol. It's not worth anything. It's never metame at all. But Miksasanim, some of the Zakanim used to say, Af rova atzam is revias dam lechol. They used to say, no, rova atzam is revias dam is for everything and applies to everything. It's not chatzi kav atzam is lav dafka. Applies to everything. Based in Shalach Harayim, Amru Chatzi Kav Chatzi Log Dam. They made a pshar. They made a compromise. Seems like they made a compromise. Lakol Rova Atzamos Revius Dam, the truma of a kach. So really, Chatzi Kav Atzamos is the share, like in our Mishnah, for Nazir to Migaleach. And Rova Atzamos and Revius Dam do have significance. They do make you tamei for eating truma and for kachim. But truma and kachim were machmir. Avalol Nazir will also Pesach. For Nazir to Migaleach, you would need a Chatzi Kav or a Chatzi Log. But also Pesach, also if you wanted to become tamei from not being able to do a Pesach, you need the bigger share. The Michti, so the Gemara responds. The Gemara says, let's look at this. Ein achras shlishim achras. Right? You don't make compromise. You have two opinions. You have one opinion that says one way, and another person says the opposite. So another person can step in. Let's make a pshara. Let's make a compromise. Without any, they're just saying, want to make it fair for everybody. No, you have to have a source for compromising. No, the later teaching, which sort of made the compromise, was not just a compromise between two different opinions, but actually a third opinion. They heard it. It was an oral tradition passed down. One of the last Nevi'im at the end of Bayis Rishon. Alelu Nazir Megaleach. On the following, the Nazir is Megaleach. Alelu, the Reisha Lamute, right? Alelu is an inclusionary type of statement. So Alelu, when the Mishnah opens up, Alelu, the Reisha Lamute, Etzem Kisahora, right? These things, the Nazir is Megaleach. To exclude what? A bone the size of a barley seed, right? Which is different than the rest of the Mishnah. The rest of the Mishnah, it's Metame, even in an OL. Etzem Kisahora is only Metame through touching or carrying it, but not in an OL. The Almago, Maso, Alelu, the Seifa, at the end of the Mishnah also has Elu. Elu repeats it. The Mude Evan has chuchis. The reason it says that is to tell you that the halachas of Nazir Megaleach does not apply to Evan has chuchis, which we'll soon learn is a case where a Nazir is passing near a house and there's rocks protruding outside of the house. Under one of the rocks, he went under numerous rocks. Under one of the rocks is a corpse. So we're not sure. It's a suffix. So a suffix tuma, and Rosh Hashanah really is considered to be tohor. However, the Rabbanan were gozer midrabbanan, and they said that a Nazir is not permitted. He's tamei midrabbanan. However, he's not megaleach. Because it's megaleach is doraisa, so therefore it doesn't apply. Chatzi kavatzamos. Mishnah says chatzi kavatzamos is of right a half a kav of atzamos in a basket together. It would be metame if they're all together. So the Gemara is medayek tapan and gimel beis chatzi kav atzamos in rova atzamos low. You can infer from the Mishnah that a revius is not enough of bones, right? Now the real question is, because the next Mishnah we'll see on Daf Nun Dal, I believe tomorrow, is that our Mishnah was really like the Reisha, and the next Mishnah is the Seifa. The Seifa is going to say basically the things that a Nazir is not megaleach on. And one of the things that it says he's not megaleach on is rova atzamos. So how do you resolve the two things? So why do you say it twice? Why? Because from our Mishnah we can infer chatzi kavatzamos, yes, rova atzamos, no. Then the next Mishnah says rova atzamos, no. Why do you have to repeat it twice? So obviously the Gemara infers the reason it repeats it twice is to tell you that really chatzi kavatzamos is we only need the bigger shear when it comes to OL, tumas OL. But touching it, even a rova kavatzamos or carrying it would be good enough to make the Nazir Megaleach. So where is it? Heichi dami. Ilaim with the ispohon atzamos kasaora, teblim mishum etzem kasaora. So basically the fact that the Mishnah say the same thing twice, right? So we can infer like what I just said, that you can teaching it. So the second time is sort of unnecessary, right? Even in Etzem Kisaora, if you touch it, that's the Mishnah says here. The earlier Mishnah we just had on Daf Memtet, the earlier Mishnah says if you have Etzem Kisaora, if you touch it or you carry it. So I need a rovat samos, even a small Etzem the size of a barley seed. So when it says in the later Mishnah, rovat samos, by touching it or carrying it, that's talking about where there's no actual bone. It's made into bone dust. There's bone dust. There's no actual bone. But if you have rovat samos and you touch it, rova kavat samos, and you touch that or you move it, so then even if it's a powder, a Nazir is megaleach on that. We'll ask, on this will be the topic of Ilan Ben Sion. I'm going to talk about an earlier Gemara, which seems to imply that if you grind up the flesh or the entire corpse, right, so it's not metame. Another's not megaleach. Here, the Gemara implies that it is, as if you touch it or move it, it is. So Shira Rova Kav, we'll discuss the discrepancy in Ilan Ben Sion. The Mishnah continues, if you have the limb of a dead person, or even the limb of a live person, even if they don't have a flesh on it, the size of a kazayas, they have enough flesh that if it were living, it was attached to the person, it would regenerate and come to a kazayas. So that is matame. And your Nazir is megalech. What about it doesn't have the amount of basar? Rabbi Yochanan seems obvious, simple, right from the Mishnah. He does not stop his Nazir. It's not Galech. Rish Lakish is obviously going to have to help. He's going to have to interpret the Mishnah in a different way. He does Nazir is Galech. They have to have the ability to at least produce a gazayas of basar. Rishim and Lakish Galech. He says Galech. Look, Zanim is safe. What's his inference? It doesn't say anything in the Sefer. The Sefer is the next Mishnah on Daf Mem Dalet is going to say these are the things that a Nazir is not Megalech. It should have mentioned Rashi Ein Alein Kazayas Ba doesn't have the ability to regenerate. Why doesn't it mention it? Must be doesn't mention it to tell you that he is Megalech. V'Rebbi Yochanan Amar L'cha Kol Heichad Mashma Miklala Lo Kasani V'Sefer. Anytime you can infer something, it doesn't say something in the Sefer. You can just infer it. Somewhere asked Rabbi Yochanan, Hachatzi Kavat Samos to Mashma, Chatzi Kavat Samos in Rova Samos Lo. Right, comes to tell you Chatzi Kavat Samos, that measurement would be Matami, would be Nazir Goleach. Rova Samos no, but Kasani V'Sefer. Rova Samos, and says it in the next Mishnah. Rova Samos no, not. So Mara says the obvious answer, like we said before. Hastam ilav Rova Samos. How if it didn't say Rova Samos the next Mishnah, I feel al Magola Maso lo. Even Rova Samos, even if you touch it or move it, no. Lahaki Isrif Lamisni Rova Samos. The Allah Ilo who de Nazir Goleach. Right, only when he comes under a roof. Right, roof tuma, he's not mitame. It's not megaleach. But if he touches it or moves it, even a rova kavat amos. Whereas the chatzi log dam, the shamas mina, chatzi log dam and reveal is dam lo. Right, a Mishnah says a half a log of blood, right, which implies reveal is not good enough. It's not even seifa. Yet the next Mishnah says reveal is dam. Reveal is dam not. Why have to repeat that? According to Rabbi Yochanan, whatever's inferred, you don't have to repeat. No, the reason it's stated there is another reason to tell you not like Rabbi Akiva. Now they changed the gears over here. I think it's the grow over here. I'll read you what the article says. Not Ravias Dam Haba Mishnei Mesim. Ravias Dam Nazir Megalech. This is elsewhere. We'll see later on. Rabbi Kiva says a Ravias Dam. He argues on our Mishnah on Daf Memtet. Memtet says Chatzi Chatzi Log. He's a Ravias Log Nazir Megalech. So we'll end off. We'll continue this discussion of Yochanan and Rish Lakish. It's a longer discussion. I want to end a place that's good to end it. Also, it's Friday. I don't have so much time. Stay tuned for Ilan Ben Sion, where we talk about grinding up corpses and grinding up bones, cremation, right? When you cremate a body, so is that matame? Is that matame? Is that Nazir Megaleach or not? Here the Gemara seems to say if a rova atzamos that's ground the bone powder, it would. But we said before on Daf Nun Aleph, I'll quote you the Gemara on Daf Nun Aleph on the base. The Gemara says, Naktina in the middle of Nun Aleph on the base, Meis Shetachno Ein Lo Rekev. Right? We talked about dust of a corpse. If you grind it up, there's no rekev. It's not matame. It's not Nazir Zamagaleach. It's not matame you. What's the difference between our Gemara and that Gemara? Ilan Ben Sion coming up next.